Welcome. So lovely to have you here and with us again. And so grateful to have you on this broadcast as we dig into the metaphysics of God. This is a special presentation by the Temple of Wholeness, and we will be exploring both theory and practice on how we relate to God, ourselves as beings in the universe, both as divine and nature. And the format for today is going to be to start with an invocation and a practice and an embodiment. We'll be moving next to the transmission, which will be a mix of theory. I'll be sharing a few slides on the metaphysics of God and then immediately utilizing that in a practice. So let's start with transmission. I'm going to invite you to close your eyes, invite you into your body, invite you to take a deep breath. As you breathe, start to scan your body. Start to notice all the parts, all the areas, all the regions, all the sensations. And the question that we're examining in this invocation is, where am I and where am I not? As you scan the body, can you feel yourself from head and neck, shoulders, chest, solar plexus, abdomen, legs, and feet? Are all areas open, online, embodied, and vital? Can you feel sensation and energy in all parts of you? Or are there parts that feel less vital, disconnected, numb, or offline? Are there parts that are hiding so that when you put your attention there, the attention seems to slip off or the mind starts to get active again? And as you breathe, just start to notice all of these different types and sets of sensations. Start to notice the difference in quality of sensation. And notice how you feel as you experience these different parts of self. So we're going to start with the parts that feel opened, alive, embodied, and vital. Just notice how good and right and natural that feels. How easy and open and peaceful it is to embody, whether that's in the head, in the heart, in the belly. It's a nice practice to start with what's working, what is easy, what's simple, what's already online. To be grateful for those parts. Be grateful for what you have. Be grateful for what is already how you'd like to be experiencing yourself. And then gently let yourself start to notice and observe any parts that are tight, tense, painful, disconnected, numb, or less than vital. Our job is not to fix or change these parts. Our job is to acknowledge these parts. They're not broken, they're not wrong. They're simply holding energy and information that is not yet connected to the whole of being. Some of those energies may be emotional. Some of that information may be repressed or disconnected, maybe trauma, maybe arrested development of an aspect of self that's stuck in the past. So our first job is to acknowledge and allow those parts to exist without feeling the need to change them, to fix them, and letting them know that it's okay to be where they are right now. We cannot enduringly resolve what we cannot accept. Instead, let's start a dialogue between these parts. So, starting from the parts that are connected, embodied, whole, and vital, and feeling good. Stretch your awareness from those parts towards the parts that are numb, disconnected, less than vital, where pain or block is noticed. And notice what it feels like. If you hold your awareness in the parts that are whole and online, as they hold space and care for these parts that are disconnected. Like a loving family who has a member who's going through a hard time, we can be present for the challenge, for the struggle. And as you feel these parts start to connect, start to interact, start to notice and acknowledge each other, notice the part that's disconnected. How does it respond? Does it start to energize, or does it contract and pull away? Does it feel as though it wants to come online, Or does it want to bury itself deeper? The magic here is in the non attachment. The magic is allowing that part to have its own pace and its own rhythm. And letting ourselves be present to all the experiences that are happening in the body, in the awareness, and in the consciousness. And if you put your awareness back in the part that is connected, hold a sense of appreciation and gratitude for the part that is disconnected. Hold it with a sense of love, but with that non attachment. Don't need to fix, we don't need to push. We can let it have its process. And see what happens next if you start to bring these parts a little bit closer together. Does the challenged part react, pull away? Does it soften and open? If the latter, I'm going to invite you in your mind's eye to have the part that feels whole and alive gently put its hand on the back of the part that's challenged. Again, without agenda, just in authentic, open care. Holding a sense of possibility without outcome, and just staying in peaceful lovingness. Letting the challenged part know that you're there when it's ready. And again, in your mind's eye, let the healthy part, the whole part, let the other part know, I'm here. I'm with you. You're not alone. I'll be here. I'll be with you when you're ready, whether that's right now or in the future. I know it can be scary to feel what you're feeling. It's okay. And if you notice a flow between those two parts, an energy exchange, a sense of opening, ask the challenged part, what do you need from me now? If it's ready to start to open, you can invite it to start to expand, start to loosen, start to connect. If it's not ready, you can ask it, when would you like me to check in on you again? If these parts need to have a deeper dialogue and connection, you can pause this recording and let the process continue. These parts are both opening up, both awaken and align. Notice the sense of gratitude, the sense of energy for this part of the body, this part of the being vital and energized and relaxed. Notice any emotion that just wants to move, any information that was bound in that old story, that old disconnected part, that a part of your consciousness had to protect. Say thank you. Thank you for doing this work. Thank you for being courageous enough to open up. I'm so glad to be with you. Let these parts continue to talk. Decide when you might come back and check on both of these parts. Take a few deep breaths. And when you're ready, you can come back. Great work. So, in our exploration today of the metaphysics of God, we're going to first start with a couple slides so we can look at some of the theory around this conversation, and then also we're going to do a practice to connect to one of the fundamental aspects of this metaphysics that really feels most necessary for a deeper understanding in our world right now. I'm going to pull up these slides. Great. Okay, here we go. So, the problem, why are we addressing this? What is the reason that this needs to be talked about? Simply, if God is only an abstract concept or the remnant of a religion we feel has been inadequate for us, our spirituality may be lacking something. We need an experience and a frame of divinity we can have direct access to. And in the next couple slides, I'm going to go over why we need this as a society. So much of the chaos and the division and the strife comes from a misunderstanding or disagreement or hostility based on religion, based on God. That's crazy. We all know that's crazy. If at the foundation of almost every religion and every conception of divinity is incorporating a deep love, why then is it there's all this chaos and strife? So our society, locally, nationally, and globally, needs this now. We, as the Temple of Wholeness, as a church organization, are building doctrine around this so that we can facilitate even more powerful transformation, even more coherent presentations, and even more accurate practices to help you in your spiritual awakening, in your healing, in the emancipation of your soul gifts and the delivery of them through service in your professional lives, as well as your personal evolution as a human being. This is work that I'm deeply studying in my PhD and doing a dissertation on an integrative metatheoretic theology. And ultimately, we are deeply dedicated to create practices for you so you can touch and taste this and have it active and alive in your life. So, traditional conceptions of a religious God. Typically, if we look at this, there's a sense of it being static, unreachable, and judging. And this may be most active in people's conception of a Judeo Christian religious God. But certainly, the developmental level of each person as they're having this experience is going to determine what this looks like. So that will exist across other traditions as well. So we can find very similar things in in the Muslim faith, in some of the Eastern traditions. A vengeful, wrathful God is not just the purview of Christianity, but exists across many different traditions. There's a conception of it being out there somewhere. So, where is God? I don't know, but it's not here, it's not in me, and it's not now. And that can be really challenging if we're looking for a fundamental experience. It tends to be highly conceptual, so we have ideas but not direct experience, and very impersonal, which makes it hard to relate to and hard to embody. On the other hand, if we start with the metaphysics, we're really starting to ask some questions like, what is the true nature of reality? And in this true nature of reality, how are we experiencing self, cosmos, divine, and nature? What is my relationship to, as, and from reality? So most people experience reality as a bucket that I exist in, right? It's some sort of container of time and space that I am in. But if the metaphysics of a non dual God are true, then I am all of that bucket and anything outside of it. I am all context throughout all time. But we need to have experiences for that. What is God's relationship to reality? How are those things the same and how are they different? How do I recognize and reconcile what is God and what is reality? Or do I choose to believe that they are just exactly the same? How do I and God relate to time, space, dimensions and realms, nature, the path of ascendance, climbing toward through heaven and into the heart of God itself, and then immanence, back down from my divinity all the way down into the fundamental aspects of nature. And then, most importantly, not here on the slide, how do I relate to others? And then, a fundamental and deep question within of all spirituality and all religion: what is my function and meaning in reality? Why am I here? What am I doing? What is my role in each moment to be present to my concept of awakening and in service of the awakening of others? And what about esoterics, direct experience, mysticism, and magic? All of these need to fit in a conception of God so that we know how we can relate to all of these. So this is a map that I've put together for a project that I'm working on for the Institute of Applied Metatheory to work on an integrative metatheory of God. So this is a version 1 and will likely evolve many times over this project. But you can see it's simply split up left and right. On the left is theory, on the right is practice. So we need to have an understanding of soteriology. So what is our idea of salvation? Salvation is a concept that a lot of people have discomfort around, mainly because it's talked about in more fundamental religions, that we are broken and we are sinners and we need to be saved by God. And I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but I'm saying that salvation is a process in religion and in spirituality that we need to account for. We need to look at modes of knowing. So, looking at developmental levels, cultural and post cultural interpretations, and the nature of knowing through gnosis. We need to have theories of consciousness. So, idealism, materialism, pantheism, all of these ways that we ask, how is the universe constructed? Is it just earth and heaven? Is it just earth and it's just a physical reality and there is no God? Is there a sense that all of reality is in fact God? What do we believe? What is most useful for us right now? And how do we hold that? What is the nature of our cosmology? How do we make sense of time and space and the different heavens and hells and realms and experiences of the mind and heart, of the divine, the vast fertile void? All of these things need to be accounted for in our cosmology. And then on the practical side, who are those who are called to lead? Who are those who are called to teach? What is clergy, theologians, those who are studying the divine? What is their role? What is the value and nature of community? How do those who are on the path interact with each other and live a life that is vital and awake and alive and embodying spirit? What's their relationship to people who are not doing that or who have different sets of beliefs? How do we have practices, understandings, and appropriate teachings around the exoteric, which is the doctrine and known set of beliefs within any religious or spiritual tradition, and the esoteric, meaning the mysticism and the magic, the hidden elements within any spiritual tradition? And then how do we do community? How do we do church, temple? How do we do cathedral type experiences in our living life? How do we pay into a place that we can build and have as a well of spirit and wisdom where we can go to fill ourselves regularly? These are all things that need to be considered when we ask the question of God. And there are likely others. And like I said, this is all going to change as we go through this project. But these are some of the things that we're starting at in a version 1. So why does this matter? Because the most accurate metaphysics, understanding, and relationship to divinity is the most useful and beneficial. Not getting lost in ideas, schools of thought, or traditions that either are inaccurate or are not useful for where we are right now in our process of spiritual waking up. So, a few fundamental considerations that we're going to look at. These are formulated in triples, so sets of 3 things that are going to be part of how we do our examination of this metaphysics and theology. So, the first is nature, human, and spirit. What does it mean to be of the earth, but separate from the earth, and of spirit, but separate from spirit? How do those 3 things interplay? Religion, which is the exoteric, the kind of agreed set rules of how we come together and do theology and spirituality. And then mysticism, which is the personal individual path. And then what's the way that we bring spirit down into both of those functions? The nature of God is omnipresent, every place and everywhen, omnipotent, so being all powerful and omniscient, meaning all knowing. And then from a traditional Judeo Christian uh, kind of theology, the idea of a Father, a Son, and a Holy Spirit, which is actually incredibly meaningful. If we take the fundamentals from them, there is a useful set of relationships there that we can actually apply to many other traditions. And even in the Hindu tradition, the idea of the 3 modes of God, of Vishnu, Shiva, and Brahma, there's been a lot of comparison between those 3 things. So, is there a fundamental relationship there that is metaphysical that gets enacted in religion? So, with that, let's move into our practice. And we're going to work with this fundamental triple, the first one that we had there of nature, human, and spirit. So, again, I'm going to ask you to close your eyes and let all of that information relax out of the mind. Let the mind relax, expand, and let all the tension of thinking drop away. Let the mind open and bloom like the infinite blooming lotus, always creating more openness, enduring openness, without the contraction of thinking focus. And the first thing I'm going to invite you to do is send your awareness down through your feet, through the floor, into the earth. If you have a connection to this field, this consciousness, this concept, this energy, this being called Gaia, called nature, I'm going to invite you to feel into the vital force at the core of nature, the animating quality of life. And even the awareness that is coupled with life, the drive to animate, the drive to inspire, the drive to create more life and more life and more life. And now, from that vital impulse, going to feel through the levels of nature. So notice first the level of mineral, material compounds, elements, and molecules that come together to bond in a specific, uniform set of properties. You can feel all the minerals in the mineral kingdom. And even in the mineral kingdom, you get more complexity as you start to create crystals. And as you climb in complexity and even more vitality, you get the plant kingdom. Plants absorb these minerals and utilize them as fuel and building blocks. To create their unicellular and multicellular expression from the smallest molds up into multicellular organisms working towards mycelial networks, and then finally up above the ground into plants, vegetables, fruits, large trees, and all other expressions of the plant kingdom. And you can feel that when you're in nature, how the plant kingdom is expressing vitality. It's expressing life. This is why when people want to balance themselves and ground themselves, they go into nature to get reconnected to that part of them that is nature. Next level of complexity is the animal kingdom. Again, starting with the smallest unicellular parameciums, bacteria, and up into multicellular, small creatures, small insects, amphibians, reptiles, rodents, up into larger cats and dogs, into lions and bears, and zebras and giraffes and elephants, into eagles, condors, hummingbirds, swallows, owls, and all other beautiful flying creatures. So you can feel that continuous chain of the earth and its mineral kingdom making up all the rocks, all the soil, all the oil, everything under the surface of the earth, complexifying into the plant kingdom with its vital energy expanding and expressing and drinking from the sun and drinking from the water and drinking from the minerals, complexifying into the animal kingdom, so active and expressive, ultimately until you arrive at the next layer of complexity, which is humans. And you can feel the distinct shift between the level of consciousness of most animals and humans. Humans are far more, on average, complex than the animal kingdom. And we have far more to contend with in terms of our own thinking, experiencing, our morals and ethics, our interrelated experience of community. But we are, in aspects, part of nature, but also far more. To be human is to be a steward of nature, of plants and animals, and of the planet. And rise into the body, noticing this quality of humanness, the way consciousness moves through your awareness. But also notice the natural part of that consciousness, the instinctual self, the primal drives of food, water, sleep, shelter, and procreation. Notice how we sense those drives, but we are not controlled by those drives, hopefully. That we can reflect and theorize about those drives. We have self-awareness of it as an individual of those drives. And feel that boundary between nature and self, nature and human. Let yourself be both. And now rising through the crown, feeling the energy all around your body, feeling the energy of the etheric body and etheric realm, and then becoming more complex and more subtle, more ephemeral, the astral dreaming realm and the astral body. The M field or mind realm and the mind body, where all inspiration and possibility and insight come from. Through the realms of what the Tibetans would call the realm of gods, through the realm that Plato would call the fundamental forms, into the vast, spacious, fertile void, completely outside of space and time. The fertile void, the nothing from which all things arise. Through the void into pure consciousness itself, and then lastly, directly into the absolute non-dual into God. And from this position, recognize this as self as well. This is the great promise of spiritual illumination, of non-dual enlightenment, of becoming an avatar, is recognizing self as the oneness of all reality. Recognizing my consciousness is not my consciousness. It is the consciousness of all of reality. And because of that, I have awareness and sensing and feeling and connection to, through, and as all things and all beings. And as we do this, we can reach out with our awareness and find ourselves in the experience of others, anywhere on the planet or in reality. As the absolute non-dual God, you can find the God as self in other. You can feel the suffering and joy, the elation and disappointment, the remembering and forgetting, the vast diversity, the hopes and dreams alive in the heart of every human being. And you can know that this is me too. I am that. No boundary. One taste. And while it would be delightful to stay here all day, let's, with our awareness and intent, climb back down through pure consciousness, through the vast and fertile void, through the realm of Platonic forms, through the realms of gods, through the M fields, the mind fields, and the mind body, down into the astral dreaming realms, through the dreaming body, into the etheric energy body, landing right back in the heart, still connected to the absolute, drawing down the absolute into the heart. Now, in your heart, I want you to feel that absolute and continue to feel that connection to nature. And know that as a human, you have a blessed role to be where nature meets divinity. Feel God talking to nature through you. Feel nature rising towards God through you. Feel yourself opening and expanding and being all of reality. This divine, beautiful interplay of nature and divinity in space, in time, in dreaming, in transcendence. All the light and shadow, all the remembering and forgetting. and claim, "This is me. We are I. I are we. I am that I am." And from this place, let's make a prayer. From this place, let us be a blessing to nature, stewards and guides, protectors of nature, of the waters, of the minerals, of the plants and animals, of the wild forests untouched and untamed, of the deep waters, of the bright, clear, open sky. And let us be expressions of divinity, knowing, holding, and radiating self as absolute, full access to all that we need to transcend, heal, grow, and awaken. And most importantly, let us be that with and for others. Let us be the way showers and wayfarers in the expression of divine service, of naturalness for our human brothers and sisters. Let us feel those prayers in their hearts. Feel unguarded, knowing that we are protected in the absolute, the light and the dark. Recognizing everyone is where they are on their own journey, their own path of awakening, their own path of healing, their own path of remembering and forgetting, enacting their own reality in their own lives. Let us extend for, by, and through them that their deepest prayer be answered. May all beings have what they need. May all beings be in aligned flourishing. May all beings know care and safety. May all beings have the means to draw themselves out of the hell realms and back into the heavens. May all beings know the activation and whisper of God's own voice. May all beings have the energy and information to be in the fulfillment of their own divine work, dharma, and destiny. May all beings be nourished. May all beings be whole. And in honoring with the three parts of the technology of prayer, the beginning, the middle, and the end, we started with explanation, which is the beginning. We went in practice, which is the middle. And now we close this prayer and send it on its way in the joyful acknowledgement of its fulfillment for us, for those that we love, and for all of humanity, nature, divinity, and reality. So it is, so it is, and so it is. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for being with us on this exploration today. We so deeply appreciate you. We look forward to seeing you next time for Church of Direct Experience with the Temple of Wholeness.